உங்கள் HD கனடாவின் இன்றைய முக்கிய செய்திகள். இலங்கை செய்திகள்.
கடன் மறுசீரமைப்பு செயல்பாடுகள் நிறைவடைந்தவுடன் பிராந்திய விரிவான பொருளாதார கூட்டணியில் அங்கத்துவம் கிடைக்கும் என எதிர்பார்க்கப்படுகின்றது. ஆசியான் அங்கத்துவத்துடன் சுதந்திர வர்த்தக ஒப்பந்தம் செய்து கொள்வதற்கான பேச்சுவார்த்தைகளை ஆரம்பிக்க எதிர்பார்ப்பு. ஜனாதிபதி கடன் மறுசீரமைப்பு நடவடிக்கைகள் நிறைவடைந்தவுடன் பிராந்திய பரந்த பொருளாதார கூட்டணியில் அங்கத்துவம் பெற்று ஏனைய ஆசியா நாடுகளுடன் சுதந்திர வர்த்தக உடன்படிக்கைகளை ஏற்படுத்துவதற்கான பேச்சுவார்த்தைகளை ஆரம்பிக்க திட்டமிட்டுள்ளதாக ஜனாதிபதி ரணில் விக்ரமசிங்க தெரிவித்தார். இந்து பசிபிக் பிராந்தியம் தொடர்பான ஆசியான் அமைப்பின் தொலைநோக்கு பார்வைக்கு தான் உடன்படுவதாகவும் அந்த தொலைநோக்கு பார்வையை முன்னெடுத்துச் செல்வதற்கு பூரண ஆதரவை வழங்குவதாகவும் ஜனாதிபதி மேலும் தெரிவித்தார்.
Ambassador of Vietnam.
The 56th anniversary of ASEAN a time for congratulations, because the association has now grown to be one of the biggest economic blocs in the world, and with a growing future. We have expanded, developed slowly but gradually. Your cooperation in Asia is not an easy issue, and to work it out has been your success story. It is also a time of regret, because Sri Lanka was invited to join the ASEAN at the beginning. We did not accept. I was a witness to it because of what happened then, and one of the people involved was my father. After the UMP government was formed in 1965, there was a request and a demand that we should open out the economy, go ahead. First was the then Prime Minister Mr. Dudley Senanayaka's launch of bringing the Green Revolution into Sri Lanka, which succeeded. Then came what was known as the Shenoy Report. Professor Shenoy, who was one time the economic professor at the University College here, came to Sri Lanka. He was a professor when my father was a student. So at the request of President J.R. Jayawardena, who was a Minister of State, he invited him, and there was the Shenoy Report for liberalization of our economy and to ensure that our welfare programs stayed within our needs. Second was the invitation for Sri Lanka to become a founding member of ASEAN. It was natural because during World War II, we all formed what was known as the Southeast Asia Command. There was no South Asia at that time. So this debate went on, and we got some extended time. People like Mr. J.R. Jayawardena, some of the other ministers, people outside the cabinet and parliament like my father, all were pressing to go ahead with the Shenoy reforms and join the ASEAN. But Mr. Dudley Senanayake was also the Minister for External Affairs. And unfortunately, the Treasury officials advised him not to risk opening the economy, and the External Affairs officials told him, don't join ASEAN because non-aligned movement will not accept. So here we are, 56 years later. The countries of ASEAN has prospered. What did we do? For 3 years later, we turned into a socialist economy. And we broke up our capital formations, and we've gone ahead. We have not completely liberated ourselves from the shackles of that economy. Here you are, one of the biggest economies of the world with the potential to be the 5th largest or the 4th largest, expanding. And here we are at the end of 55 years becoming bankrupt. So this is the reason for regret. But now that we face the bankruptcy and we have taken the bull by the horns, it's for us to go ahead. And to do so, take encouragement from what ASEAN has done, and also remember to collaborate more closely with ASEAN. That is the policy of my government. And I think that's the policy other governments will also follow. So our connections to Southeast Asia is strong. I think next to India and Maldives, we have the closest connections with Southeast Asia. Look at the countries, Myanmar, Thailand, which practices the Mahavihara Buddhism, Cambodia, Laos, parts of Vietnam. That is a very, very close link. All the interactions that have taken place, all the Malays that have come here, the connections between Srivijaya Empire and Sri Lanka, the Anuradhapura, lot of connections there. And at Batavia, when we and Indonesia was a part of the Dutch Empire for some time. So this is what we have in common. And we have to build on these cultural relations, our economic relations, and our political relations. This is why when I was Prime Minister, I first initiated the free trade agreement with Singapore. It is essential. Then I've been able to renew it, and now we will be negotiating with the other ASEAN countries. We are already doing so with Thailand and hope by next February to conclude. But in the meantime, Sri Lanka has applied to join the RCEP. Well, all of you are there. China, Japan and Korea are there. Australia is there. That is the largest trade bloc that we can come to. And we should join it. And we applied. I am told we are the only country that has applied. And once debt restructuring is over, we'd like to play our part in the RCEP. And at the same time keep negotiating with the other ASEAN countries our own free trade agreement. This is what we have to do. We couldn't get into ASEAN. We refused to get into ASEAN, not that we couldn't. And now we must join the RCEP and go ahead. There is no reason for rejecting the RCEP. So we have to work with the RCEP. And the economy has to look towards the East. It's the East that is developing. So we have this agreement with RCEP. We are negotiating our agreements to upgrade our agreements with India and hopefully with Bangladesh. So we could cover from whole of Bay of Bengal to the east of it until Japan. So this is the economic and the political strategy that we are following. It also means much closer cooperation politically. I have asked the Minister of Foreign Affairs to ensure that these communications take place at ministerial level and should take place regularly, that we do meet, discuss issues and see the way forward. There is no way backwards. There has to be a way forward. We also, looking at the present international situation, we also agree with ASEAN's outlook on the Indo-Pacific. We are committed to upholding that same viewpoint and to supporting you all going ahead. We have also given support to Indonesia as the maritime fulcrum. We have not moved away from that. We will move together with all of you on those issues because the ASEAN outlook recognizes the Indian Ocean as one entity and Pacific as another entity. So we can in the Indian Ocean ensure it's free of military rivalry, that we carry on our business, and we therefore have the same outlook and the same aims as the members of ASEAN. So we have to work together in every fora to support this proposition. In this vast ocean, remember, ASEAN countries and us are small fish. So unless the small fish stay together, we will all be taken up separately. So it's much better for us to deal with everyone, deal with friendship, and say no rivalry, certainly in our backyards or our front lawn. That's the main thing that we have to say. There's also another area which we have to and we must cooperate, climate change. You can see the crisis of climate change. The UN Secretary General is calling for acceleration of the climate agendas. So it's essential that we work together. That means ASEAN and the other countries like Sri Lanka work together on climate change and also realizing the potential of the blue economy. So there's a lot of work that we have to do together. I've just outlined some, and to say that we have to go hand in hand and work together with ASEAN. There's no other option.